the messaging on the Telegraph or whatever. I think it makes us also think about, Tim Urban, Fedor, to go with that, the idea that the Earth is in itself one self-regulating organism. Indeed, the viruses are going to be part of that regulation process. And I've been thinking a lot, especially now that people are starting to talk about opening things back up again. Greta Thunberg said at least around 2 weeks ago that everyone's talking about wanting to go back to normal. But the thing to remember is that normal was a crisis. And we really should, as much criticism as progressives have.
Yes, Greta.
Yes, Greta.
And as much criticism as progressives have gotten for trying to work forward-thinking environmental regulatory policy into the US economic stimulus packages, really, we should be thinking about this time as a kind of rest where we can actually make those moves. Otherwise, it's just helping us get complacent and forget about them until they're too far gone to really make any real changes.
Yeah, this shit was not normal. Like that was bullshit. That was not the way to go. And we definitely got like a signal from from the source.
Yeah, and I feel like because we are going to have to rebuild, like, let's not rebuild back in the same old problems. Like, let's do something different that might work a little bit better. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, it is very interesting to be thinking about all of this during this time when we're inside, because, I mean, it's Earth Day, and like, if you're a person who celebrates Earth Day, as I am, you might normally do something like go out and pick up trash on a beach or something, but you can't really do that this year. So it's like, it's really making me think about, like, how can I still be engaging with the world, which is actually the topic of our talk today. Like, how are you connecting with the world, even though we can't go out in it? So yeah, Kia, I think that's so great that you reached out to Buy Nothing, because there's actually been a lot of chatter on the admin channels about like shutting down Buy Nothing groups because of social distancing.
Made me so sad. In my personal local group, the moderators sent a message who were like, and they basically just said, we're going to try and be responsible so we don't get shut down. So we're only going to allow sort of like essential items to be posted for either in search of or to give away. And I did love that in honor of Earth Day, my post totally made it through. I just put in search of pot and soil. They immediately let it in. And I thought, yes, this is the world we need. This was the conversation Fedor and I had yesterday of like, we need to take this time when we're sitting inside or like sitting in nature and not being able to do all the like hamster wheel things that we do to like recalibrate and know that this is taking a while and that this is not getting solved in a week, because literally it's a planetary sign. You need to do some larger infrastructural work to change the way you are before you go back to it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, and neighbors to praise our global neighborhood a little bit. Our very first conversation with Dr. Tessa, our amazing scientist. Like this week, everyone listens to the Daily in this house and in many houses across the US. And like there was a daily episode where they say, guys, it seems like we're in it for like 1.5 years or 2 years or maybe more until the vaccine is created, like, and all of these things. And I'm like, old news, guys. Like I've been telling you just after Dr. Tessa for already more than a month that this is the reality of how the only way for us to probably deal with it. So yeah, this is just, to me, was yay to reaching out to the doers that we can find, you know, the best doers, and then hearing from them, not from the people who interpret the doers, you know, but from the doers themselves. I think that's really interesting, and that's the way to go. Like I very much feel like media, like what we're doing, is like the kind of new media, but also I don't want to. It's again like Tim Urban thing where like you take the word and immediately you don't want to be associated with this word because it has so much negative connotation. Yeah. So it's like we are teachers, but not teachers. We are media, but not media. Where it's like all of these things. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, and today is our block party. So today is our day when we hear even more than usual from everybody here. So maybe we should, you know, steer towards that. Yeah, the prompt for this week was, how are you connecting with the world this week? Which, I think that's something that's kind of been on everybody's mind from the very beginning of this. And it's certainly changed over the course of the last month or so that we've been in this. But I'd love to hear from some people. If you can just, you know, unmute yourself, say your name, and if you want to tell us how you're connecting with the world this week, that would be great.
Yeah, Zhenya, I can't wait. Zhenya Makarova. Yeah, Zhenya is our very special guest today because we haven't seen her. Like, I know she's been watching it, like the recordings, but she's never attended the live event. Any discussion with Zhenya or like any talk with Zhenya is really inspiring all the time. She always has her like original view. Not to put too much pressure on you right now. You can say something very silly.
No pressure at all, you know. I feel like now I have to say some, you know, Nobel Prize speech or something like that. Thanks to my parents, thanks to my ancestors.
Yeah, no, but seriously, like whatever you feel about saying about how you're connecting with the world this week, and maybe anything about the Earth Day and how you feel yourself as a human and the Earth, and like basically anything. Also, Zhenya is our curator, so she's the person that kind of knows our students the best and knows them from a very like a deep kind of side, because she talks to them about their big goals and dreams and then makes sure they get to this place. So very special and magic role. Elk. Okay.
Well, okay. Speaking about connecting to the world, I've never felt disconnected to the world. I mean, I don't want to sound too strange, but every morning I wake up, I actually first remind myself that I'm the part of it. So that makes me feel and think a lot about the way how our mindsets should be changed in order to avoid all the situation we have now. I mean, because I think all the neglection of the earth starts with the people's neglection to themselves and their souls. I mean, this feeling of disconnection. And well, stop me when I start to sound too esoteric.
Now, we haven't had a lot of esoteric people, and you know, like our brain is left and right. Yeah, like there's intuition and there's science, and there is like I actually think we should embrace metaphysics and just like find a new way to connect the two opposites. It's not the world where it's like either physics or metaphysics. Yeah, it's the world where both exist. So, Zheny, you're welcome.
Okay. Well, continuing my thought is, well, I'm always trying to start from myself, and I'm always thinking what from my side led to all the situation happening in the world, because each of us in some point, at some extent, contributed to all this crisis. And my initial thought is that no way we can improve our relationship with the world, with the earth, before we improve them with ourselves. actually a conscious person who is happy with himself or herself, who is even happy in this isolation, without even if all the electricity switches off. This person cannot ruin the earth, cannot I don't know, make a lot of damage, because this person feels that if I don't know, a part of tree is damaged, it's like his or her own hand is damaged. And I don't want to sound anti Greenpeace or something like that. I really embrace all this movement. I myself try humbly to not use plastic too much, to distribute the trash I have, though at the place where I live, I have to find it specifically, and I actually go to administration and say, hey guys, come on, let's put all these separate trash boxes, please, please, please. But I think the ecology starts in ourselves and inside of us. And what I'm thinking is how it is possible for influencers, for people whose voices are significant, are heard, how they can finally help people think of their souls, of their insights, of their, I don't know, mission at this planet, of not being just a part of some systems, not being just the, I don't know, those who continue the fathers or mothers' footsteps or society's footsteps. So I feel that it is too much talked now about outside environment and too little about inside environment, about how to grow your garden inside yourself, whom to talk with inside yourself, you know, which part of yourself need to be healed, need to be connected, need to be maybe brought into peace between themselves. And well, that's actually, if you ask me what I'm thinking about and how I'm kind of trying to connect to the world, that's how I'm trying to do. And even with our students, of course, recently our sessions topics have switched a little bit to all this virus and panic stuff. I mean, for me, it's also a very, very hard signal that people don't want to spend these 30 minutes of their trial lesson or their OKR session speaking about themselves, about their future, about their goals, what they can contribute to this world, what is their talent we're able to, you know, distribute all over the world. They, most of them come and I don't know, spent like 10 minutes speaking about their neighbors, how they argue, how they panic. And I say, guys, it's the best time to think about yourselves. There is a very, very good, funny saying in Russian, which is actually a poem, but I would translate it not in the poem way because I'm far from being a poet. It says that let's leave everybody rest in their peace. Let's please make everyone free of yourself. And finally, very, very unpredictably, think of ourselves and focus on ourselves, not on the kids of Africa, not on the some neighbors, not on someone else. How exactly I can improve the situation inside myself and how this can reflect outside. Okay, you should stop me because I can be speaking like this for 2 more hours.
Oh.
And we have plenty of people and you will start hating me at some extent, so I want to avoid it.
I actually totally agree with you, but not that you should stop, but about
everything up until that moment.
About thinking about ourselves and what I mentioned in my personal life. So usually I'm very social active person. I love parties, I love networking events, and I love to talk to people. And at the beginning of this social isolating process, I was a little bit scared how I will just stay at home and without any social activities. But now I understand that I feel much better because my feeling. Do you know this FOMO feeling, fear of missing out?
Yeah, FOMO. Yeah.
So now I don't have this FOMO, and it helps me a lot because in normal life, like in our previous normal life, there were so many different activities. Like every day there were like 2 or 3 different events, and you usually should choose between them or trying to like go to all of them for a little bit, and you always have this feeling that you miss something because there are a lot of different activities, but you always miss something because you always should choose choose only one thing. Yes, and now like everyone just staying at home, and I feel this FOMO much less than in previous social active life. And this gives me a lot of power and a lot of energy to think about myself, to do what I really want to do. And I was really surprised because, like, as I said, I really love these like social activities, but I was really surprised that I really feel very comfortable in this like social isolating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wow. I see a lot of signs of this around me, definitely. Like people kind of calming down and saying, wow, I actually finally don't have to do all these things that I hated doing, actually, honestly, to be like honest with myself. And I can just focus on what I love.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier to kind of get your priorities in order in a way. And like you were saying, Eugenia, I feel like if we are doing what we love and focusing on the thing that we love, as opposed to just like something that we have to do, like a job that we just have to do for money, then we can be so much more effective, and we can kind of fill in on these problems in a way that is meaningful to us, but kind of affects the whole. Because I mean, if you're looking at like environmental problems, well, those affect social justice problems. And if you look at feminism, that affects the environment. And, you know, it's all connected. And if we can focus on the part that speaks to us, then we can make an impact.
Mm-hmm.
Totally agree. Yeah. I think all the environmental problems are just made by the huge numbers of really unhappy people with no real purpose of life.
Mm-hmm. That may be. Maybe
Because
that's
because no, really, a happy person cannot do this. A person whose life is meaningful and who feels connected to other people, to the world, will not do harmful things. I've actually maybe I'm very lucky, but in all my social circle, nobody ever avoids using trash boxes or putting, I don't know, cigarettes on the road or something like that. All this, I don't know, makes me feel that the focus should be about happiness of people, about the purpose of life. And it seems like too much things in our social life try to switch our focus of attention to some other things, to invest in our resources, our energy, our attention, which I think is the main resource of a person, to something else other than our goals and purposes and all the stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's challenging too, just because we live in a world, I mean, speaking particularly from the perspective of someone living in the United States, like we live in a world where it has been constructed in a way to make us consume. And of course that breeds dissatisfaction, which there's your unhappy people. And also it creates so much trash and so much waste, and not just like physical single-use plastics, but all of the carbon that we're producing. Like, these systems have been created in such a way that as individuals, without trying to do anything, we live in a pretty high impact way. Again, speaking about the United States here, it's not a solely United States problem, but it is a very largely the United States problem.
Well, yeah, I think the state's economy is kind of an idol for some other economies. So they're trying to keep up with it. So they actually finally get the same problems.
Yep. Yeah. I wish that we could be a little bit more of a warning in that sense, but this,
No way.
Yeah.
Not for Russia.
Yes,
but this
Stephen,
goes back to what Stephen was
you're
saying,
I
Yes.
also think that we should be also looking into how we approach understanding of like what meaning is with regards to human life. Because I think that the way that our consumption habits, what they reveal is that this consumption economy survives because we are trained, at the very least in the United States, but as you say, setting the model for people around the world, to define our meaning by consumption and by our ability to consume. And so, I find that I start to get a little bit anxious when people talk about like, making sure that you're like having a meaningful life, because I start to think about like the way in which many people are pressured to define that meaning, because we absolutely need to find new ways to conceive of human value outside of that person's monetary value.
Well, it's not unrelated to the idea of FOMO, right? I mean, our meaning is, especially in an increasingly globalized world, we're all so aware of the ways that other people live, and we're constantly in comparison of other people's lives to our own, and how can we strive to be more like this? And that might be completely different than what we intrinsically want, but we're driven by this capitalist model to keep wanting and wanting and wanting and getting more and more and more. So we are now, I feel like, quite often driving towards things that we're just told that we want because we fear that we don't have them and other people do. And if we had this quiet time more often to sit and reflect, we might come to a completely different conclusion. And everything, I mean, it's just it's like learning a language. It's like everything, it takes time and reflection and going out of your way to dig a little deeper to find the truth. And it's what we don't do with our consumption habits right now. We all just want instantaneous results, and it's so much easier to do the easy, cheap, really high carbon footprint thing than it is to go out of your way to do the other thing.
Well, I'm gonna sneak in here, and if anyone is looking for an easy Earth Day action to do that would mean a lot to us in NYC, I'm dropping a link in the chat. Now, because of COVID, they are actually pausing organics collection. They're pausing composting collection. The reason that they gave was budget cuts, but there are other things that could be cut. And of course, obviously, they're still going to have to collect compost. It's just going to be collected as landfill. So if you have a second to sign this petition to save organics collection for us, that would be super helpful.
Yay. Yeah, and neighbors, don't forget about the chat. If you have any links, ideas, anything you want to share, go ahead and just throw those links. We are looking at it. That's really important. Rinat, welcome to the neighborhood. Do you wanna say how are you connecting with the world this week? I saw some of your stories this week. Actually, I saw some like the arc of being very optimistic, but also like you were going outside and it's like, where am I? Like, why do they have us like sneak out like criminals to go into the store? Like, it doesn't feel right. You were like just desperate. So tell us about how you're feeling and how you're connecting.
So sorry, I'm a little bit sleepy. So there is almost 1 o'clock in Almaty AM. Yeah. So, but I really wanted to hear you guys about how you how you are, staying at home in this kind of environment and how you entertain yourself. But what I'm doing actually all the time, so I'm working remotely. So it's about 8 hours a day, trying to support our production. I'm working in the plant, gas and oil. So we are trying to survive these days. As you know, there is the low oil price environment, so actually killing this kind of industry. So it's really affecting us.
It maybe should, Renat, and maybe like talented people like you just gotta switch.
Yeah, yeah. Who knows? Yeah, maybe it should be like this, but it is what it is. So at home, basically, I do some kind of a little bit sport, and I do have a small music studio. So sometimes I go there. I like that you said, and the neighbors said about, especially, you should do that. For example, the things that you love.
Yeah.
So the music is my kind of pressure relief valve. When it's activated, I'm actually go there, close the door, and just trying to compose something. What I found out, the songs became a little bit depressive, but I believe it will be stabilized. But who knows? So there is kind of the sounds of my souls, transforming to that kind of notes in that the logic application, so that I'm using to create the songs. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Mike, hi. Misha.
Hi guys, how are you?
Yeah.
Good,
Yeah.
how are you?
Hi. Renat, what kind of music?
I do love the Oriental stuff, Oriental music, and sometimes it's just the pop music.
Where can we hear you? Do you post them on Instagram, or do you post anywhere?
I have my YouTube channel, but there is a limited collections of my songs, but I can share with the neighbors.
Yes,
Just
put the link, please.
Yes, just a second.
Next thing you know, we're all dancing to it in our next block party,
Right. So my last song published a couple years ago, but at the moment I do have a lot of some uncompleted songs, but didn't have a time to complete them. So actually at home I do some kind of arrangements, composing, but all of the professional studios, it is actually in quarantine at the moment. So I will do after the quarantine maybe.
Yeah.
We actually know one representative of a studio. We have one of our students. Maybe we could connect you.
Yeah, sure. It would be great. Thank you very much.
That's what we do.
Yeah, all the links.
Yeah, we actually, my goodness, for musicians, we have among our ELK students, I know there's like a person from one big company that like is responsible for distribution, and like we had someone from Spotify, etc. Like this always has been my dream to kind of, to make the most effective system where our students can connect to each other and help and make projects together, etc. Because we like looking from the, from the top, we see like so many potential connections. So yeah, for sure. I'm still searching like which challenges that we made is a really good system for that. Global neighborhood is a really good system for that. Yeah, so we're definitely going towards this direction of like exchanging things. Mish, welcome. The topic of today's conversation is how are you connecting with the world this week?
Wow.
Yeah,
so
and
global.
today's the
So
Earth
global.
Day. Yeah. We're thinking big today. So
why not?
Yeah, tell us about your week and how you've been connecting with the world.
Oh, I don't know. We are Zoom right now, and always, because I'm stuck at home. So, so my world is just my laptop. So, only one window. to the world. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, the week was tough. So I got around 8 or 10 meetings per day. So I'm a little bit tired. So that's why I'm late today. Sorry about that, guys.
Not at all. Whoa, 8 to 10 meetings a day. Okay, so you're very connected to the world.
Absolutely,
I'm going to
absolutely.
flip the question on you, Amisha. How are you disconnecting from the world and taking time for yourself with all of this Zoom?
So I don't know. Really, I don't know. 2 times a day, I'm just walking around with my dog, so I'm trying to reload my mind and trying to be with myself inside my head. But all of the time, so I'm just connected. Today, I woke up at 5 a.m. because it was a Stanford classes, and it was 5 a.m. So wow, it was hard for my, sleep time. But it's okay. I think it's a way of opportunities. It's a time for making something big.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, before you came on, Stephen was saying about how, like we had kind of the before times and now we're in this and people are talking about going back to normal, but really, we're building something new after this, hopefully. And yeah, you're so dead on. It is a time of opportunity for us if we can figure out how to take it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, and thing we learned, I think, and we are learning, if anything, like I was having a talk with Ali and LJ yesterday in the evening, and I'm like, yeah, we're having this global neighborhood gatherings, and there's so much perspectives, and we're learning and putting it together. And they were like, what are the key takeaways right now that you see? And I started coming up with like a lot of them, but one of them is definitely about connecting the opposites. Like I think we see it every time in every single talk. So this idea of like, on one hand, it's the time to do and to build. And then on the other hand, the same thing is true that it's the time to like chillax and like observe and understand, and it's like, it seems impossible that both truths are, true, but that's the magic of it.
Embracing ambivalence.
Yep.
Again.
Yeah, I'm totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and we have more time now to keep those in balance. It used to be that we were trying to cram everything that was like creative and interesting and like new to us, and anything that was relaxing into like that little bit of our day when we weren't just working towards all the things that have just suddenly halted. So that's what I found recently, is there's just a lot more hours in the day for those other two things to take over. It's very refreshing. As long as you don't schedule all 8 Zoom meetings right in a row. I've started scheduling in little 15-minute sessions to just do some downward dog, just, use some of my body a little bit before
get that tennis ball going.
Honey.
Yeah, we're still waiting for this video, Kia.
You are using downward dog?
Downward dog, not right now. No, this is the key to quarantine. If you are on 3 hours of Zoom calls in a row, get a tennis ball, put it under your butt muscle and just roll it out, because otherwise everybody is going to come out of quarantine with lower back problems and really tight calves. So do yourselves a favor. You're welcome.
You can ask for that tennis ball on Buy Nothing.
I will try.
I wish we could like do this video where we like throw the tennis ball, I throw it and it goes to...
I think it's an awesome idea,
It's a good idea. Let's do
really
it.
Cool. Yeah.
We make our global neighborhood music video. That'll be our first concept.
Yes.
Throw tennis balls out of frame.
Global neighborhood ping pong. Yeah. Super fun. Okay, who else wants to share about the way they're connecting? Because after that, I want us to go into the insight that we had with Kia and like talking a little bit about that. I also had like another insight on top of the insight, and I can't wait to hear what the neighbors think about it, because we're thinking as like scientists, yeah. So whenever we have like a new idea, we just like bring it to the rest of the science community and see if this can be like disproved easily. Then we throw it away, or maybe confirmed. Then we're like, maybe that's the way it is. So anyone wants to talk about how they've been connecting before we switch topics? John is with us now. Hi, John.
Well,
and Verichka has
I'd like to say something. I mean, one of the ways that I interacted with the outside world today, or not today, yesterday, was a meeting with a group that I belong to. It's called CCL, Citizens Climate Lobby. And basically what we do is we work on national legislation to reduce the carbon impact. Okay, so this is a group that's been going on for years and years, okay? And it just, you know, there's two things. There's the lobbying part, okay, with various lawmakers and stuff, which right now is not happening, okay? But how we could still, as a group, to stay solid and to find out what's going on in various places and to still, on a, you know, more intimate level, talk to people, particularly this week being Earth Day and Earth Week, whatever, you know, and talking to people about how that can be done. But again, it came back to what some of the, like Chrissy and Stephen were saying, with it's all has to do with money. And one of our main tools is that we try to convince lawmakers and other people that this is to their benefit economically as well as benefit to the earth, which is our goal, is to better the earth. But we have to do that by presenting it as, you know, an economically efficient thing to do, which is, unfortunately, I don't know how it is in like Russia and stuff like that. I mean, but in, as you were saying, in the United States, it's all about the money. And it actually, you know, I mean, we have a lot of statistics and have done a lot of work in determining that reducing carbon emissions is actually not only good for the earth, but also good for economics. So hopefully when we get out of this and on to the next part, people maybe can be even more aware of that. So that's what I did this week.
Kathy, I knew you were cool, but I didn't know you were so cool lobbying these things. Oh my goodness. Okay.
I knew.
Getting to know our neighbors better. Thanks for sharing.
I also have a story to share. So this week, actually, we started to work on a very interesting project. So in Russia, we have a delivery service called Delivery Club. So they deliver food from restaurants. And now we are creating an Instagram filter for them, because now in quarantine, they decrease their fee, their commission for restaurant to 0. So any restaurant can be connected to this delivery system and can deliver their products. And we are developing Instagram filter for them, where you can make like a cute story with the name of your favorite restaurant and say that I support this restaurant. So this is my favorite restaurant and I support them. I order food from this restaurant. Yeah, and so this is very cool project to be connected with restaurants, because for them now it's really a tough time.
That's so cool.
Pasha, that's so cool.
That's so cool, Pasha, because here in the United States, a lot of the kind of analogous companies like Seamless and Grubhub and everything, they're not waiving fees for restaurants. They're giving discounts to consumers for ordering through them, but it's not actually helping the restaurants as much. So that's so cool that you're doing that with that company that is helping them. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yep. Anyone else wants to share?
I mean, Fyodor, I actually had something I wanted to share this week. Yeah. So if nobody else,
I like the pause where everyone's like quiet, and then, but actually, I like worked the whole week on something that I wanted to share with you, but maybe we can do without it.
Chrissy Rose, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm bearing the lead. Anyway, so I've been working on an art project that's called Postcards from the Interior. And it came to my head a while back, and it's sort of been like percolating in there and developing. And basically what it is I am asking people to send me postcards from wherever they are self-isolating and tell me basically whatever they want to. It can be anonymous if you want, or you can include your first name or just your pronoun. You can just like say him, her, they, whatever. And yeah, just kind of tell me anything. And I'm in week 3. And so what I've kind of been doing so far is I go and I get the postcards each week. And then on Saturday, I choose one and I perform it as a monologue. So yeah, I've been putting that on my Instagram. There are 2 episodes up now. I do publish all of the postcards unless somebody says in the postcard, like, please don't put this on social media. Then I, of course, totally respect that. But so yeah, I choose one, I perform it as a monologue, and then I show all of the postcards that I didn't get a chance to do a monologue for. And yeah, so that's what I'm doing. So if you would like to send me a postcard, I would really, really love that, because I really want to like get some from all over the world, because I know people are having such different experiences of this. And if you guys are interested, I was going to give a sneak peek of this Saturday's episode of a card that I have received that I have not published yet. So
Yeah.
yes.
Hey neighbors, show how interested you
Yes.
are.
Okay, so I chose this postcard to share. This is what I received. It's a postcard from Coney Island, and I'll show the back and then I will read the back. So that, because I think it's nice to like get the handwriting.
Mm-hmm.
So it says, "Hi Chrissy. Being productive and staying positive is hard. Sleeping and reading a lot is good. I'm going through deep ambivalence. I'm in Inwood, NYC. I've lost perspective on the rest of the world. I have found I take to staying in my apartment quite easily. I was about to go into the busiest month of my life work-wise. Instead, I took to my pajamas and stayed in bed. My name is Alex, she. I am afraid for the future." So that's one that I have. And that's kind of, I've been finding like most of them, you know, they have that kind of at sea feeling, and there's some things that are negative and some things that are positive, but they've been like really gorgeously individual so far. And I'm really enjoying it. And I would love for all of you to be a part of it. So I'll drop the address in the chat. And if you want to send a postcard, you can use an old one that you have, or you can make one. You can order stamps online. So yeah, send me a postcard.
Yeah, and send where we can see you perform. Is it an Insta
Yes.
channel?
Yeah, so it's just on my Instagram right now. I think I'm going to make it its own YouTube channel, but my Instagram, I'm putting it in the chat right now. But yeah, you can go there. They're on IGTV there. So
so interesting.
My Instagram handle, and then I'm going to put the physical address where you can send me postcards as well.
Okay, neighbors.
Awesome.
You know what to do.
Thank you.
Chrissy, can I ask you an insider's question?
Please, I wish you would.
Was that postcard from a playwright?
I don't know, because it just said Alex, but I think it might have been.
I think I know this Alex. I've got a crazy story about this Alex. I worked on a play with somebody named Alex. Oh God, it must be like 3 years ago now. Fedor, am I allowed to share my screen in this group or no? If not, I can just pop this picture.
If I allow you to.
Oh. You're allowed if you're allowed.
you now can.
So I worked on a play with this person, I think, who is from Inwood, and wrote a play called Last Night in Inwood like 4 years ago. It was like an apocalypse play about like a moment in New York City when like the world was about to end maybe, and it was just inside of an apartment. And that's
Wow.
Kia in 2016. And what am I wearing? A painter's mask. That was the premise.
Whoa.
That was the premise of her show. It was like nobody knew what was going on. The first scene of this play was I came in a painter's mask and got a lot of like groceries out of a bag. So artists know, guys, we're living our dreams. It's crazy.
Of course, artists have thin skin and they feel like artists, writers, and all the creatives for sure. Yeah, and scientists too.
Yeah.
They also know early, I think.
Scientists are always the first to know.
Okay, so Verочка or anyone else wants to share the connection with the world and any thoughts about the Earth Day before Kia tells us about the insights that we had with her yesterday, kind of reminds, and then we have a little discussion. Okay, Kia. Oops. Hi, Kia.
She seems like she cannot hear you.
Yeah.
Say it again. I'm cut out for a second.
No, it seems like we've run out of stories, and we can talk a little bit about our insight and see what the neighbors think.
Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Yeah, I want you to start, and then because today had an insight, like the next step insight that I want to check with you.
Oh, cool. Okay, guys. So I had this weird thought about a movie the other day, and I don't want to play this whole clip, but I'm just going to send it to you in the chat. I bet everybody has seen The Matrix at some point, maybe. The Matrix. There's a great scene in The Matrix where Agent Smith makes this metaphor, and he says that human beings are a virus. They're not mammals. They're the only mammal-like organism on the planet that just uses resources, that just takes and takes and takes. And I had this brain explosion rewatching that clip because I feel like that's a feeling of being a human in the world this week, is like the planet has been infected with this human being virus, and that maybe this thing that's happening to us in some horrible planetary way is just like an antivirus trying to tamp us down. And that made me really scared for a moment. But then I had a conversation with Fedor yesterday where we were rethinking this and maybe taking it as a gift from the planet to be mammals who are like viruses and know that we are capable of changing our natures. So if we are doing this thing, we are also capable of great change. So maybe we can become the antibodies. But that was where the conversation started, and I'm wondering what you've been thinking about since then.
Yeah, so today I went on a walk and I was thinking about the purpose. And yesterday I made this story, where I announced this immediately, again, like a good media, the moment we had an idea. And I'm like, the question I have now is, if the virus realizes that it's a virus, can it change its nature to stop being a virus and to become something useful, or at least neutral? Or we are doomed, basically, because there's a lot of if you think of the Earth as a living organism, and I don't see any reasons not to think of the Earth as a living organism. Yeah, the planet is a living being. Then look at us, look at what's happening, look at when it happened, exactly when we were said that we passed the point of no return in terms of environment. And the change, and now immediately everything stopped like magic. Planes started stopped flying and factories stopped working. It's you can't invent this scenario unless you until you see it in the actually happening. And then I was walking and I'm okay, basic principles. Elon Musk teaches us, think basic principles. What is the basic principle? What is the basic principle of life? The basic principles, what is the purpose of life? It always it wants to continue. Yeah, but also it always is doomed to die, but it continues with children. Then I'm thinking nature, planet. It is doomed to die. Yeah, we all know the sun will explode and the planet will no longer be. So I'm thinking, how can the planet continue? What are the planet's babies? There's no way the planet, maybe, it's a theory, can continue without us humans actually taking the material of this planet and bring it to another planet that becomes a baby of this planet. So I'm thinking, wow, we are not a virus, actually. Oh, wait. Do you see what I see? And it's a perfect moment for this to happen. Yeah, again, it's it's a beautiful connection of the opposites. Yeah, beautiful. You get too high, you get something low. It's really cool. Yeah. So the idea is that we are kind of the genetic material in a way, we are sperm in a way, but like in a really good way, yeah, that is maybe will help. But it's not about us. It's about the planet. That like what I think what we've been getting wrong, that like we are continuing the humanity into other planets, or like we are making like this planet serve us, you know. But just this little shift of perspective, you know, I think can make us so connected and so purposeful. So that's that's my insight.
No, it totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. Absolutely.
So are you proposing that we move to another planet soon, or that we try to change our ways on this planet and then repopulate somewhere else?
Both. We definitely need time to, well, like to, first of all, in order to take good samples of this planet and in order to make good babies for this planet, we need the species, we need animals, we need plants, we need everything, yeah? We need to sustain that. We need to sustain ourselves. We need to sustain this planet as like like the best shape possible. And then we advance with technology, of course, because we don't know how much time we have, you know, to be good, like to help this planet make children. So of course we do our best to, you know, to move towards this direction. And we just, I feel so much synergy in this, you know. In opposed like to thinking, because like when I made this story, I knew that we're not a virus, like, or that part of us is a virus. It just doesn't sound right. I know that we can be more than that, and there is like a purpose, because nothing comes for no reason, and like the reason that we are here on this planet, like we must have some function. It feels like
maybe some,
you know, I
opposite.
Oh, go for it.
Sorry.
No.
What if there is no reason? What if we just should figure out our own reason? Did you think about it, that we are here because of some accident, and what we are doing is just figuring out our own purpose, our meaning, and because of it, we are free to choose. We don't have to match any expectations, and so whatever we figure out, this would be the meaning.
Yeah, I feel like that resonates with me, because my first thought was I kind of believe in dying, that like when things have a natural course, and sometimes that course should end, and that's okay. And maybe the answer to humans expanding perhaps isn't more expansion. But I also I don't think that we are a virus. However, when I started to think about a few years ago, reading about how invasive species behave, I think that we have a tendency to view ourselves as onlookers and not potentially behaving just the same way that all other invasive species behave, which is to free of natural predators, rapidly expand in a way that pushes out the other natural niches and knocks things out of balance, which is really exactly what we're doing. It's no different than kudzu, which is a vine that's overtaking the South, or pigs in Hawaii, and it happens all the time.
But to combine those two ideas, I think the only hope, the only silver lining I'm seeing right now is like, yes, we are kind of like pigs in Hawaii as a species, but we also do have free will and choice. And if we can take this moment to reflect on the fact that we are pigs in Hawaii and really take the time and concentration to, as a species, make some new structures so that we are no longer pigs in Hawaii when we're allowed to go back outside again, That is the difference between us and like a vine, right? A vine just
Right.
grows. We can say, okay, I'm gonna not do all those things that I did before, even if they
100%.
At least, and that's where Elon Musk comes. Tim Urban's articles come in with like the emergence. And at least me as an individual, I want to believe that I have the free will to not do the things that I don't want to do. Yeah. And then there's like another layer where, you know, we as a family, we as like a global neighborhood, we as like a humanity, what is like our collective property as like this emergence giant, right? But like it would be so sad to know that like we are so like virus that we can't even on the individual level like decide to change our ways and habits, right?
Yeah. Ooh, that sounds like a good conversation topic for next week. How can we as an individual change our habits in ways that we can practice now and take into the future?
Mm-hmm.
That's a really wonderful idea because, you know, I mean, as I said, I feel like there is so much that is out of our control because of the society that we live in as a whole. And it can be really empowering to focus on ourselves and what we can do. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Any thoughts? And neighbors, it's really cool to have different perspectives, and it's actually really cool to have people who disagree or think otherwise, yeah, or completely like, I know I see Zhenya laughing. Zhenya, come on, you can say, because this is where, this is where the most interesting and exciting like things are born. So speak up, yeah.
I'm not actually having any contradiction as usual. Yeah. I was just thinking about this this gift of free will, which actually everyone gets when we are born, and there are so many ways to lose this free will power. I mean, not to lose it consciously, but just to give it away as if it is not so I don't know, meaningful, or it's not so important. I think I don't want to think of some, you know, global evil government which makes some things for us not to be free in our intentions. But I guess that social institutions are made in a way to trade with each person in terms of parts of person's free will. You know, you will get this and I will give you this. For example, corporate system, when you come to have some corporate job, I hope our meetings are not heard by any corporate giants. But you come
live on YouTube, but otherwise, don't worry.
Okay, I actually I'm not afraid. Nobody even knows where I am. So you go to work for a corporate company, and they say, okay, we're trading. You know, we will give you money, we will give you status, we will give you some social benefits, and you will give us a part of meaning of your life, because you're not actually pursuing your own life goals mostly when you work for a corporate company. If you are some top manager, or if this is like a turquoise company and it is very conscious, then okay. But let's be honest, most of corporate companies just use people as parts of their system. So you trade it. Okay, I will give you 40% of my free will, and you will give me these benefits, money, and etc. And I think that all this period now is actually very nice and very interesting, because most people are given their free will, and they're given the benefits of how consciously they've been using this gift through all their life. Those who cherish this free will gift and were pursuing their goals, were thinking of actual meaning of their life and what impact they can do in the world, they're now actually, as I observe, are not so panicking or stressing. They might be a little turbulent in life and feel this, but in general, they don't lose their path of life, and they don't feel they lost the sense of being. And those who have traded like more part of this free will feel a little less stable, and maybe feel some depression. So I think one of the things you made me feel with, you made me think of with this discussion of who we are, is that actually we one of the greatest gifts of a human being, and one of the differences between a human being and an animal, and is the free will thing, because we have it, and we are able to we're able for evolution. And speaking about who we are and what is our purpose in this planet, one of my positions about this is that there is evolution of races of humans, and each race is just becoming more and more developed, not on the way of brains, but on the way of all levels, intellectual level, physical level, spiritual level, and etc. So to my mind, we might not have purpose to go to another planet, but maybe we need to set base and fundament for the next generation, for the next race, which will be more developed, more conscious, maybe more, I don't know, better in many ways than us. And that's what I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
What if people don't want to be free? Like, it's hard to be free, and free will is good, but it's hard. You need to set your own goals.
Yeah.
You need to think about, like, you always need to choose. It's hard.
Yeah, that's very hard, I guess.
Yeah,
I think it's the hardest thing in the world.
Not what people actually want, and not maybe like when you trade your time, for example, to big corporation, and they give you goals, they give you a schedule, they give you money, they give you a reason.
Or the governments, guys, too, right? They do.
Yeah. So it's like
anywhere,
any type of like tribe where you have a leader, they give you like the reason and everything, and you don't need to choose. You don't need to do it by yourself. You already have it done, and you can just use it, and it's simple. And maybe it's like, maybe I don't know, like I don't know which kind of people are the most, those who want to be free, or people for whom it's just like it's easier just to trade their time and don't have this really hard work, because it's really hard. It's really hard to understand what you want. It's really hard to understand, like, what are your goals.
Totally.
My guess, dear neighbors, is the answer will be again in connecting the opposites. As soon as we kind of come to this question, like, oh, is this or this? I think what we're learning is then, both. So what's the topic for our next Wednesday? I think that was really a really good one.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect. But I think it's a part of free will. You can sell it, and it's your free will. So that's it. That's it. It's very simple. If you want to be free, you just need to be free. It's very easy. If you want
you
to
are
sell
already free.
Yeah, and if you want to sell it, it's your free will. So
exactly.
That's the point. That's it.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody makes you sell your free will.
Absolutely. It depends only it depends only about you. That's it.
Yeah. I guess it's just about the kind of conditions and like knowing in advance, because where people get upset is, I think, it's false expectations, and you think that like by selling your free will, for example, you get this, but I think actually like you come out empty or like without something. And if it seems like if you knew in advance the contract that you were signing, that would kind of be easier. Yeah. It's same thing with free will. We're saying like, hey, there's free will, but guess what? You'll have to work hard and you'll have to like always make choices and you'll have to like figure it out, and no one has been there. And it's like freaking takes a lot of your energy and time, and like it takes a lot of you, you know, the same thing. It's probably somehow like this kind of knowing the conditions as much as we can, because well, yeah, what the problem is like people being upset because they are not satisfied with the outcome, yeah, and then they start and they blame all this everything in themselves.
Yes,
I'm
but
just thinking
even,
like
even
for the
more,
ways for the global neighborhood. That's again like, coming back to this point. Like I want us and wish us to actually gradually take it to the point where we start formulating the world that we want to live in, not just talk about the world that kind of we don't want, but also say, hey, how do we make arguments in the global neighborhood? Like what is the right way of like addressing things? How, like what's the government like now? What's even the country is? What's money? What are these things like? Yeah.
Yeah, you know, Fedor, one more point. You should every man and women should train their brain, because the brain is like a muscles. If you train it, you become stronger. And if you are weak, you can't lift heavy things. And the brain, the same thing. If you don't thinking, if you don't making up strong decisions, if you're not meditate or trying to focus your brain, you're weak. Your brain is weak, and you cannot be free. Just, you know.
Yeah. I want to add that I think there is always a second part that we also need to train our heart. I mean, because when there is focus on something, only one thing, another part lacks attention, and a lot of, I mean, you know, how is it called? Justice without love is war, and etc. etc. So I am totally pro brain. I'm very, very, I spend a lot of attention to the brain, but heart is also so important. And I think one of the keys to solving a lot of problems is just to find the compromise between these two parts.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of like a beautiful note to end on for today. I'm aware that we're about 15 minutes over, neighbors. It's been a wonderful conversation, but we should
but it's the Earth Day. Let's say on Earth Day, we are allowed to go 15 minutes only on Earth Day, once a year.
It's an Earth Day tradition.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you for such a wonderful conversation today. This has been just lovely. I think next week we should start with this question of what are you doing to reverse your organism towards something that is that your output is slightly more sustainable on a personal level. And if that means for you balancing the head and the heart in this time, that's a great place to start the conversation. I can't wait.
Yeah. Okay, neighbors.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Discussion was very interesting.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.